Hello, I wanted to pop on quickly, say hi, introduce myself again because it has been a little while since I came on and did a video, and also to talk about the thing that everyone is talking about right now, which is working from home, which just happens to be a topic that I know quite a lot about. I'm Louise. I am the founder and editor of The Homeworker magazine, which is a magazine dedicated to people who work from home and offers lots of tips and advice on how to do it. But more than that, it takes a very holistic view of working from home. So it's all about how to do it successfully, making sure that you're looking after yourself, your well-being, your mental well-being, your physical well-being, as well as keeping on top and being of your tasks and your goals and being productive, and looking at your work environment as well. So lots of key things that come together when you have to work from home. And I wanted to share a few tips about it now, because at the moment everybody is talking about it, everybody is suddenly an expert, and I think it's important to talk about a few things that will be really helpful, that you might not necessarily think about, and particularly if this is a situation that has been perhaps more forced upon you rather than being a choice or your normal working day. There might be a few things that would be helpful just to make life a little bit more comfortable and to make you a little bit happier when you are working from home. I personally love it. I know a lot of people do, and there are huge benefits to doing it. However, there are obviously a few challenges as well. Whereas some people love the fact that they can get away from the office and aren't distracted by colleagues and constant interruptions, other people find working from home can be very distracting because there's lots of housework to do and reminders constantly of life outside of work. So the things that a lot of people do mention and talk about are, getting dressed first thing in the day. Very important. I find it just gets you into work mode really well. It's tempting to stay in pyjamas, and I'm not saying that you should dress up in a corporate fashion. For instance, I'm just in jeans and a jumper, but I have got dressed, and if you do stay in your pyjamas, it's just very difficult sometimes to just shift yourself into real sort of work mode. As comfortable as it might be, you can still be comfortable. Just make sure you do put some clothes on. The other thing that, again, people often talk about is getting your schedule right and putting a structure into your day. That is very important, something I totally recommend doing. And that's just it can be as simple as just making sure that you still set your alarm for the same time in the morning as if you were going out to the office. It's making sure that you have time blocks in your day so that you get everything that you need to get done, and that you don't just let the hours drift into each other and then end up sort of getting to the end of the day and wondering what you've done and what you've achieved. And the other thing, again, that people do talk about, and I want to go on to some sort of different things, is to have a dedicated office space. Now, I kind of take a bit of, I have two thoughts on this, because first of all, yes, it's very important. It would be lovely to be able to close the door and have your own office space. But particularly if you're not a regular home worker, that isn't always possible. We don't always, all of us, have our own special room that we can just close off and use as an office. Most of us, a lot of people, will find ourselves working from the kitchen table or the dining table, or even the living room at times. It is important to keep a dedicated space for your work, purely because, for two reasons. First, for your own benefit, so that you have a workspace that when you go to that spot, that's where you're working, and the rest of the house is for living. But equally for your own your own family, the other people that you live with, who don't want to feel as if they're working in an office environment, and they want to be able to have relaxing time. So try and keep that workspace as confined as possible, is what I would say. And make it like an office environment to a point. It's lovely to be able to put all your own things around it and customise it, and have photographs and pictures and candles, and that's one of the joys of being able to work from home. But equally, do make it, if it helps you, a professional space, so that you've got your notebooks and your stationery and your laptop and your various things, and it's not basically being crowded and littered with other things that you'd associate just with life in the home, and that you wouldn't perhaps have on your desk if you were in an office. So they're the three things. And here are a few other little things that we sometimes forget, and particularly if you're new to working from home. So you're going to be on the screen a lot, perhaps more than you would if you were working in the office, because you're not going to have the face-to-face meetings so much. You're going to be doing a lot of virtual meetings. You're going to have a lot of screen time. It is draining. It can really add to that sort of feeling of burnout and exhaustion and fatigue. So take regular breaks all the time. Make sure you're coming away from the screen. Get outside into fresh air as much as possible. And then the other thing, and it kind of stems from that getting out into the fresh air, is a commute. We don't always think about the fact that we are losing our commute. It's a great thing. We're not going to be stuck in traffic. We're not kind of crammed into trains if you're a train or tube commuter. But it can help to really separate from waking up, being at home, to starting your day and getting into work mode. I always suggest and do quite like going out for a little walk, maybe just first thing in the day. Sometimes some of you may have a school run to do anyway, or maybe you walk a dog first thing in the morning, but just get out, walk around the block, get some fresh air in your lungs, get daylight into your eyes, and when you walk back in through the front door, you're there to work, and that is when the workday starts. And as well as taking breaks, take movement breaks, regular movement breaks. Moving is really important because you're not in the office. You don't have occupational health coming around to help set you up. And you may not at this point, if you're not a regular home worker, have an ergonomic setup. You might not have an ergonomic desk chair. You might not have a standing desk. All these things which can really help in the long term. If you don't have them, it's really important to make sure that you move regularly, at least every hour. Get up, get away from the desk, move around. You may have seen on my stories a few weeks ago, I started doing some crazy sort of like dancing. It was just to remind you to get up and move. It's really important when you work from home. So yeah, put the music on, put the radio on, have a dance around the house. No one else can see you, so it doesn't matter, but just making sure that you are moving is really key. I would also say, and it kind of adds to this movement thing too, when you take phone calls, take every opportunity you can to move and walk around. So if you've got a phone call, put it on speakerphone and have that phone call while you're walking around. Some people actually find that they prefer to walk anyway during a phone call. It kind of, that just movement helps them to think better and process things a bit better and get them into a bit of a flow. If you're just sat still, it can actually be quite blocking sometimes. So that's just one thing that you can do to help just keep you moving. The other thing that I also want to mention with regards breaks and taking time off is when you come to scheduling in your day, don't make everything back to back. Schedule in a bit of sort of white space, that time where you're not doing anything. And then if things do take a bit longer than, quite often things often take longer than you plan or that you think about, you've got a little bit of lag time there, but also you have just space in your day to stop, to step away, to breathe, and you know that that space and that time is in your schedule, so you're not panicking and working in a sort of stressed state. It's really important when you work from home to try to schedule in time with other people. You can hear my voice actually going slightly here. I'm not ill. I've just been doing an awful lot of talking at the moment. Funnily enough, on this subject. But yeah, it's really important to try and schedule in time, face-to-face time with other people. Now, in light of coronavirus, it might not actually be possible, particularly maybe in a week or so, to actually get out and meet other people regularly and do lots of face-to-face stuff. But at least schedule in meetings online. Have people that you can check in with, people that you're happy to just talk to. It does get lonely. 1 or 2 days in the week, it may not affect you. You start doing it longer term and you realise that it can be lonely, and you realise that, you know, there are moments where you just go, I wish I could just talk to someone about this. So have people in mind who you can talk to, and maybe just set it up. Maybe have a plan in place that you have people that you go, right, going to schedule in some calls with you this week, and we're going to just chat, and it doesn't have to be about work necessarily. It could be just bouncing ideas off, but just have that time blocked out to chat to people, to talk to other people, and not be quite so alone and up in your own head, which is, it can be quite tricky at times, and one of the pitfalls to working from home. I think that's probably about it for now. I have lots and lots of things that I could talk about, and lots and lots of things that I could share. Obviously in the magazine itself, we talk about this stuff all the time, and I interview a lot of experts and profile a lot of people who do it, and we sort of talk about how they navigate those demands of, you know, home, work, family time. So I do recommend you check it out. But I will actually end with, yes, the family stuff. Again, just remind yourself, remember that you are working in a place where other people live. Having that communication, those lines of communication open, not just with colleagues, with your boss potentially if you're a remote worker, but also with your family and the people that you share this home with. Set those boundaries in place, not just for yourself with when you're going to be doing work, when you're switching off, but also with your family. Let them know when you're working and when you're not. And with children, a lot of people underestimate how much children can take on board and understand, even my young children. I have a 5-year-old, and sometimes I have to work when he's at home with me, and I tell him, I let him know that this is mummy's time to work, and I make sure that there are activities, that there are things that he can do. Yes, sometimes the television goes on as well, but he kind of understands that this is time when I'm working and not time to come and play with me. But equally, that then means that when my time with work has finished, we can spend time together, and that time is really much more intentional. I'm much more present with him, and it actually helps both of us. So, and particularly, obviously, if you've got older children, then they are much more likely to be able to understand. With toddlers, I appreciate it is hard work. I also have a 3-year-old, and I've been working from home for years, so I've done it while they've been babies and children as well. And that is all about, that's a struggle. That's relying on nap times, asking for help when you can. And equally, you know, if you're particularly at the baby stage, sometimes it can be easier because they don't move very far, and you can lie them on the floor and you can get a few jobs done. But it is hard, and I think talking to everyone in your family and your household, it's really important. You know, make those expectations known at the start. Let them know that, you know, if you might be at home, but you might not be getting on with all the housework. Please don't try and get on with all the housework. Do the minimal that you need to make sure that you can get through your day, and that it's not a distraction for you, and that you're not, you know, working in clutter and chaos. But equally, just remind yourself that you are being paid to work, and not being paid if you know, to do the day, laundry and vacuuming and cleaning and all the things that can be very tempting and can pull you away from work, but equally they can be there when you're procrastinating. And I think it's really key to be mindful of that, and when you're doing it, to keep on top of housework or give yourself a break, and when you're doing it because you're actually procrastinating and putting something off. So that's very important. I hope those tips have helped. They're just a few things off the top of my head that I thought about, but I thought would be useful to talk about now, particularly in this situation. I'd love to know your things that you have found helpful as well. You know, feel free to comment and let me know the things that you find useful. And as I say, do check out the Homeworker magazine. We also have the blog with lots of free tips and advice on there as well. You just have to go to thehomeworker.com.